Hello, 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 hello. Did I comb my hair? No, I didn't comb my hair today. Welcome, everybody. We're going to play some topic bingo. Going to wait for a few people to roll on in. Hello. Let me know if you can hear me. Is there anybody out there? Thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, people are in. All right, we're going to play topic bingo. I have downloaded Flipboard so I can read news stories, except I don't want to read the news. And we're going to look for interesting topics. All right, and this is going to be no frills. I'm not going to waste any time putting fancy graphics up, working out, getting a fancy microphone. This is all, for my purposes, a big waste of time. For other channels, it works great. I need to get back to work as soon as I'm done with this. All right, topic bingo. All right, we're not going to talk about things we're not going to talk about. Politics too much. We're not going to talk about e-personalities too much. Too much. I may answer questions on personalities, but we're not going to get personal. All right, so I'm downloading Flipboard for my iPad Pro so we can just kind of pick topics that you guys might be interested in. So I'm picking stuff that I'm interested in, and I'll tell you what I've got picked. And I'll read out a few more, and you can, you guys let me know, because this is not a show. We're not doing a show because there's no, this isn't a presentation. I hate to call it a show. It's like a dialogue. It's a dialogue. So you guys get to pick, you guys get to exert influence over the subject matter. All right, so here's what I picked so far for Flipboard. Thank you, Douglas. Watched a full 30-second ad. I don't know how ads work. If you guys are annoyed by ads, let me know. I can change stuff around. We're getting some super chat money, and that's all. That's really cool and nice. Glad you guys are doing that. If you don't want the ads, just let me know and we'll figure it out together. But if it doesn't bother you, then we'll keep them. Let me know. All right, so I'm going to read stories from time to time, and they're not going to be about comic books. There are plenty of shows that talk about comic books, and they're not going to be. I'm not going to target individuals or personalities. I don't think that's the right way to go for this channel. All right, politics. No, we're not going to get politics stories. Scientific research. Yes, I picked that. Culture. Anthropology. That's interesting. And relative to a book I want to do for Wave 2 of Allegiance Arts. No, keep the ads and keep the money. All right. Well, I'll keep the money. Small business. I think that's interesting. We probably have a lot of people interested in small business in the chat. How about entertainment? Yes, no? You want to talk about entertainment or agriculture? I'll click entertainment. All right, Olympics. You know, I went all the way through here, and they don't have one called conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories, because they're always fun to talk about. They have Zen, and they have all kinds of other stupid topics. Race and ethnicity. I'm sure you guys want to hear about that, right? Let me know in the chat. Quantum mechanics, which I selected. Right? Coffee. You can get news stories on coffee. I love conspiracy theories. Yeah, so I'm not seeing it. They have one called skepticism. So I've selected skepticism. Psychology, writing, philosophy. I think those all might be interesting topics. History. History's a good one. Space. Space is a good one. There's not much going on up there, though. Yeah, I'm gonna deselect space. What is mixology? It says mixology. Is that like conspiracy theories for DJs? I don't know what that is. Yeah, that's what I want to talk about is conspiracy theories. But rights and freedoms, yeah, that's not gonna end well. How about social justice? Alcoholic drinks. Okay, that's what mixology is. Yeah, I'm putting 2 and 2 together now. Driving as a topic for Flipboard. That sounds really boring. Cosmology. I don't believe it. Horse donkey. That's horse donkey. As Grandpa would say. Creative writing. I'm gonna select that. Supercars. I like cars, but I don't think we want to go. How about etiquette? Etiquette, no. Men's style. Men's style. I think that's kind of an important subject, but not as important as other things. All right, going down. Obesity, European travel, genealogy. Okay, we're getting down into like the prehistory. Now that's interesting because there's always speculation in prehistory. World history, fantasy, astronomy. Now these are all interesting. They put all the interesting stuff at the bottom. Social justice. Somebody is for social justice as a topic. No, social justice is neither social nor justice discussed. Yeah, you guys can discuss that. If I start talking about topics like that, you're gonna get me in trouble. Trouble. You guys want to get me in trouble, don't you? In my opinion, it cheapens actual justice. We just need justice. Let's just play fair. If you start adding qualifiers to it, it cheapens cheapens it. All right, gluten-free, a topic I'm sure you're all concerned about, but my wife certainly is. Fossils. No. Bronze Age. Now that sounds interesting. Iron Age. I'm going to select that. Socialism. Socialism. I guess we can read about socialism. That might be kind of interesting because we could critique it. Shinto ketchup. Was Epstein an intelligence asset? Oh, well, that's a great question that I don't think anybody knows until it all shakes out. I think if you're observing what's going on and all these hedge fund people that don't have no idea how he made that much money, I think it's reasonable to assume there was blackmail involved somewhere, but I doubt he worked for U.S. intelligence. I seriously doubt it. Douglas says, on etiquette, when you pick up a pizza in person and sign the receipt, do you always tip? I don't like to, but I always tip not to feel like a jerk. Yeah, that's your white guilt. Or no, that's just being considerate. That's just being considerate. I try to leave $1. Is EVS's head shaped like a mailbox? No, I'd say not. No. And yeah, with what happened with Tug and mailboxes, I'm not sure are you trying to make I'm not sure what you're trying to say with that. But leave EVS alone. Leave EVS alone. Socialism is trash, says Rodwell. All right, I think we got some good topics. Ice Age, that's a good topic. Ancient Egypt is a good one. Egyptology is always interesting. Ancient Greece, Roman Empire, drawing, Middle Ages, like they didn't call it the Dark Ages. British history, nah. Forget those guys. Work-life balance. What is that? What is that? I don't know what that is. Can someone explain work-life balance to me? Good morning, everybody. We are picking topics on Flipboard. We are in Flipboard. I have downloaded the Flipboard application. We're looking for interesting topics. How about woolly mammoths or grilling? Socrates, ancient aliens. There we go. See, I'm looking for conspiracy theories, but they don't have that as a topic, so I'm having to find things that relate. Work-life balance is important. Yeah, I know it is. I wish I could find one. Yeah, Matt Villa gave you a wrench. Wield it with ruthless precision. The pondering there is on his head shape. Yeah. No, I think there's nothing wrong with EVS's head, but you know, as a man with a pronounced schnoz, I would say we have camaraderie over our unusual noses. Farming, now that would be interesting, kind of, but not really to me. Western philosophy, that's interesting to me. If it's not interesting to you, how about Freemasonry? That's something I want to learn more about. Speaking of Freemasonry, I brought a book back here. We may talk about this. I'm going to read this. Does anybody know what this is? If anybody knows what this is, shout it out. I may talk about it. I'm going to read this book. It's going to be interesting. We're going to talk about it. Alternative medicine, at risk of going down paths that I can't be sure about. I don't know. Okay. All right. There's tons of topics here, and now I'm getting kind of bored. We can come back and edit this later. Topics you guys want to discuss. Everybody likes conspiracy theories. Hunting Hitler on the Hitler channel. Did I ever watch Hunting Hitler? Asked Douglas. That was really interesting. I watched 2 or 3 episodes of that. It just took so long. It took so long to get anything, to get anywhere, and I feel like I never got any real answers. And so much of that stuff I already knew. And I know there's some people that have like the theory that he escaped on the rat line and made his way to South America. And all that kind of stuff, where there are still weird cult-like communities of Nazi descendants. How weird is that? That live in Argentina. Yeah, they're still there. So that's kind of weird. I don't know. I think he probably died though, and he was already in pretty bad shape by the end of the war. Behold a Pale Horse. Somebody got it. Matt V. The book was Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. Joseph Dearman says, Behold a Pale Horse is a must-read to understand the breadth of the ongoing paradigm shift. It sounds like, to the uninitiated, we're speaking another language. Yeah, so we listen to, we get really, not bored, but we have all this time on our hands. Elizabeth and I, because when you're sitting here coloring comics or drawing comics, just watching anything is too distracting, so we listen to a lot of books and a lot of talk radio. So Bill Cooper was I think he was Navy intelligence, and then he went on to become a prolific conspiracy theorist and a fascinating individual. And he did a radio show called The Hour of the Time, which is probably some of the most compelling radio I've ever listened to. Yeah, it's a biblical reference and deals with secret government stuff that went on behind the scenes. I don't know exactly what the book is about yet. I'm assuming it's a parallel to his radio show. He was very upset about the Freemasons, and I think maybe unduly so. But I'm going to get to the bottom of it eventually. Yeah, he was a fascinating guy. Very, very smart and really well read, and maybe just a little bit out there, which is kind of the best kind of people. Those are the kind of people I like talking to, because they just don't have a filter. You know, they're just going to tell you what they think, and I appreciate that. All right, so I think we're good here. We've got some good topics. You want to talk about gender? How about pronouns? We can have a long. We could read articles on pronouns. That's what you guys want, right? Independent film, no, because those are all boring. Antiques, that's what you guys want. Acting, hunting, these are all good stuff, but not really great for radio. Okay, we're good here. Interest rates, compelling topic. All right. Oh, now I have to log in. Hang on. I better do this or I'll lose all my selections. Couldn't log me in. Well, I'm gonna lose all this. Sorry, this is bad radio. Oh well. It's not gonna let me log in. I'll have to do this later. Okay. Well, that's enough of that. What did I say the topics were today? Oh, the long game. The long game. What was the other one? The power to name. And topic bingo. So we just did topic bingo. If you guys want me to read about specific things, just let me know in the chat or in the description. And we'll just read articles from time to time. The Secret Space Program, says Jeremy Fine. Yeah, Bill Cooper's interesting. A lot of his stuff is on YouTube. Yeah, I would dip a toe in it. He goes in deep. He goes in deep. And yeah, it's some of the inspiration for the Red Rooster, to be honest. I don't want to give too much away, but the character himself and his rants and some of the things he talked about were definitely some of the inspirations behind the Lovecraftian elements of the Red Rooster. Let's read about interdimensional Bigfoot. Who had that theory? So I used to listen to Art Bell. Rest in peace, Art Bell, on Coast to Coast AM, and he had a guest that used to talk about Bigfoots, saying they were interdimensional beings. And I am calling horse donkey on that. And he wasn't from an inner dimension. Yeah, I've seen Bigfoot, I think. Possibly. Maybe. Don't quote me on that. I very possibly, maybe, saw a Bigfoot. But I don't know what he smelled like, because I was in a car. Horse poop. It's horse donkey, that's what I'm gonna call it. That's what Grandpa's always said. It's horse donkey. Yeah, some stuff on Art Bell was priceless. Yeah, that's what I used to listen to from college on when I was up late night drawing. Antarctica Secrets. Yeah, did you see that? The pyramids? How does that happen? Google satellite images has blurred or blocked specific areas. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. I hear a lot of people asking these questions. That and the weird, like, mountain pyramids, which could very well be natural, who knows. Doug TeNapel. Yeah, I saw Doug TeNapel. I maybe possibly saw Doug TeNapel lumbering across the road and mistook him as Bigfoot one night on the way back from Chicago Comic-Con in the year 2003. Very possibly, it was Doug TeNapel and not Bigfoot. I don't quote me on that. I might be mistaken. The other call from Area 51, yeah, brilliant radio. That's probably the first thing that pops up when you YouTube search Art Bell. Bob Lazar and Joe Rogan. Okay, I can't listen to Joe Rogan. I know I like some of the guests he has on, but I lose interest after like 10 minutes. And I'm subbed. I'm subbed to that channel. But yeah, he doesn't keep my interest. Speaking of keeping interest, I made the mistake of going into my YouTube metrics, digging around, changing some stuff around, polishing up the channel, and I started obsessing about view counts and viewership times and that kind of stuff, and I let it get to me. I let it affect me. and I shouldn't care about that kind of stuff. This is just going to be raw. Okay, so the long game. The long game. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing here. So when the Red Rooster thing, I want to give you just a little bit of, part of what we're doing is just chatting about what we've been doing over the past year and a half and how we got here and how we've ended up with a publishing venture and what it's going to be about. We definitely have some huge surprises along the way that I hope you guys all love. But what we did was hopefully a viable long-term strategy. I know we had to disappear. We didn't disappear, but we were really quiet for about 6 months towards the end of 2018 and on into the first half of 2019. Because Elizabeth and myself, our partner David, and essentially one helper in the office and almost no money, were able to, I think, do something really special. And it took a lot of thought, a lot of planning, a lot of time on the phone, a lot of meetings, a lot of presentations, a lot of talking with lawyers, structuring everything, building. We built that. Nobody else did it. We built it. So it was a lot of structure, a lot of thinking through long-term plans. So there's very much what we're after is a long game in terms of publishing. And we just looking at the nature of the platforming and shifting. There's been I'm big about trust. So I'm really big about trust. And trust in society, which I think is pretty hardcore fractured right now. And then also trust on the internet, which is kind of like a different society. And I see this happening now on the internet where we're losing trust, if there ever was much trust in some of these institutions, because you don't know whether you're going to be, booted off or shadow banned or all of this kind of stuff, right? Or if they're monkeying with your feed, or if they're serving you up content that you don't really want. All these little things fracture trust over time. And so, there's a lawsuit right now with Indiegogo. None of these platforms may not be here forever. So you got to think, you have to take that into account when you're thinking about, you just don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, in my opinion. But yeah, trust is a big one. And now I see trust being totally kind of fractured on the internet. Whereas it used to really work. And it does, like eBay is the example. We're not losing trust. Our trust is being betrayed. Well, yeah, because people are naturally trusting. I think that's the general default, especially if you grew up in a higher trust society. I imagine if you were born in a state that was rife with criminality or whatever, you may just be a naturally untrusting person. But then trust is kind of hijacked, in my opinion. So I think trust has been hijacked. So I think your observation is probably correct. But it's really super bad. But think about eBay, right? I mean, people wondered, how could you have a swap meet on the internet? Yet people did, and for the most part, it worked. And eBay resolved disputes, and people traded with each other without interfacing face to face, which is a pretty great accomplishment. But what's also interesting is that the universe is totally it's way too serendipitous, in my opinion, to be all an accident. Because you think about whaling, we almost slaughtered the entire whale population chasing after their oil. And at the point where it reaches critical mass, prices go up exponentially. And then we discovered that crude, this black crap that comes out of the ground, is all of a sudden valuable, and we can run combustion engines on dinosaur juice. which is one of these things. At the exact moment that trust is eroding in institutions and especially online, I think you see the rise of things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and blockchains, which are immutable ledgers. And I don't want to make this a blockchain Bitcoin talk, but I just think it's bizarre how it's very parallel to oil. So trust is eroding, and it seems very quickly so, both in civil society and in online society. And then you have the rise of crypto, which is an immutable, like peer-to-peer, high trust system. Ironically, that people don't seem to trust. So, but yeah, smart contracts. Shane Place is in the chat. Everybody follow Shane Place. He's always interesting. Shane, thank you for $5. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Even a good platform now can change leadership or get tempted by the fat cash. Fat cash. Yeah, I think Shane always with the rooster puns. Always with the rooster puns. How do I get rid of this? Here we go. Peter Smitty. Hey, Peter, how you doing, buddy? Hope you're doing well. It's been a while. Peter says, scared and desperate people are always eager to sell each other out if they think it'll earn them a favor of someone in power. It's a self-preservation instinct in some ways. Yeah, and it's yeah. I mean, Peter's right on the money. I mean, that's just a kind of person you have to watch out for, and that's a short-term plan. Short-term, that's the short game right there, because you're going to get caught deceiving somebody, and then it's just going to go poof. All right. Ragamond Von Wallet says, we never heard again from Billy Tucci. I don't know what that's about, but Billy has a channel called Crowdfunding Comics. And I think he's having guests on there to promote their crowdfunds and talk about strategies for crowdfunding, all that kind of stuff. So I would check out Billy's channel. I don't know what you mean by that one. He's always around, Billy. He's a fixture. Matt V doesn't support Bitcoin. Well, that's okay. You can support any. The thing about it is, it's freedom of choice. You can support any. So back when after the 2008 financial collapse happened, or near financial collapse, I was advocating on Twitter for competing currencies, right? Because if you had competition, then it creates a buoyancy kind of effect because people have choice. There's freedom in choice, and rather than having a monopoly currency. And I was roundly ridiculed, of course, by all the crazy intelligent. Of course, it wasn't my idea. I'm stole this from some libertarian thinkers. So I just was reading some of the right people. And then lo and behold, then Bitcoin comes along, and now we have choice. So I don't think it was a coincidence that Bitcoin came into being at the same time as very shortly post financial collapse, because it was a necessity. There was a market and a necessity, and people were engaged because they were looking for freedom. So there may be fundamental problems with Bitcoin, but I think cryptos and blockchains are here to stay. And so if you don't like Bitcoin, and you may not, there will forever be endless amounts of new cryptocurrencies to the end of time. Well, maybe not to the end of time. That's a little bit of too big of a pronouncement. Matt V, he should mix up with more people to get himself more exposure. Peter, same old. Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, we're doing great. Peter, of course, runs Alterna Comics. So if you guys are, Peter's a publisher of Alterna Comics. If you don't know that, I think everybody in the audience knows Peter. But he's doing a really cool job. Very inspirational fellow, in my opinion. Shane Plays, best overview of cryptocurrency. and smart contracts is Tim Ferriss's The Quiet Master of Cryptocurrency. You can also find, if you're interested, I don't want to make this a Bitcoin channel. I don't want to talk about Bitcoin. And don't take financial advice from a cartoonist, please. Do not listen to me. Follow your heart and your head. No, don't follow your heart, follow your head. That's all. Don't follow my advice either. If you do what I did and go and get the white paper, or find the white paper from Satoshi Nakamoto, and then read you find a really good video on YouTube that breaks it down. And if at the end of a good analysis of the white paper, if you're not convinced, then I'd say move on. But I certainly was. And I hold some. Not like a ton, but I've had it for a while. And I think it's cool stuff. I'm sorry, I'm just following you guys here. What else were we going to talk about in the topics? Oh, the power to name. So, how do I broach this? How about an indie comics token? No, I don't think. I've thought about this for a while. I just don't think, I can't figure out a way where blockchain affects comic books in any particular way, other than like it maybe makes it might make supply chain stuff easier for a printer or something like that. Anyway, the power to name. This is kind of a good one, because I've been thinking a lot about word manipulations, right? And changing the definition of words, which is a big deal for me. I think about this kind of stuff all the time. How words change their meanings, and how words are weaponized, and in particular words because if the language is on a shifting sand, then nobody really knows what they're talking about at any given moment, and so you can never really have a real solvable, you can't solve your problems, and you can't have trust in society. So someone was using a word on me, and not a while back, and the word was being repeated, and after three times, I noticed there was a pattern, and the word was being used to affect how I thought about a particular thing by someone else. And at that point, I realized it was being sort of steered in a particular way, or a rhetorical device was being used that to alter my perception on a particular subject. So in order to break the spell, you just simply ask what the definition. Please define that. Define what you mean by X. Define what you mean by X. And when they stutter, for 5, 10, 15 seconds, trying to tell you what they mean by X, then you realize you were being tricked, or attempting to being, you were a subject. You were involved in an attempted manipulation. And as someone who's, really adverse to that kind of thing, I take it pretty personal. But the power to name. So how about another name that caused great damage? And they named themselves this. So SJW. At this point, no one likes people that go around pronouncing themselves as SJW. It's been roundly rejected. These people are, and they gave themselves this name. They gave themselves the name SJW and went around parading around and tormenting people and making them feel guilty about their inborn traits, which is really evil and stupid. And then it was turned around against them because there was no proper definition of it. So the power to name is the power to destroy. So you went around dividing people, and then are act surprised when people don't like you, and then take your name and turn it into a pejorative. And that's the way it happens. So people were joining something. The people were joining a name. People were joining a word that they had no control over how it was defined. So therein lies the problem. And then once SJW was appropriately defined by its worst actors, then it just completely falls apart, and no one wants to be a part of. You don't want to join a word because a word has no charter, a word has no mission statement, and the meanings of words, especially in modern society, shift around so much. So just be super duper careful. I think you guys kind of get what I'm talking about. Yeah, you guys get it. My audience is smart, and my audience is probably a lot smarter than me. In fact, that's a definite. Shane is smarter than me, of course. I'm just a lucky guy because I'm around all of you smart folks, and I have a wife that's smarter than me too. So I'm just lucky and observant. Lucky and observant will get you pretty far in life. So yeah, you guys get it. You guys get what I'm talking about. So just be careful when you are joining things, or when you're asked to join a thing that cannot be defined. And always ask for a definition of a term, right? So and watch out for the patterns. If somebody's using words on you and they're trying to turn a common word or a common symbol into a pejorative, this is a magic trick, literally. This is magic. I started, I guess if you were here from like last week, I talked a little bit about the news. I haven't watched news in forever. We don't have cable or TV or anything like that. And so when you turn it on, when I walk into an airport or whatever and the stuff's playing, you can see it. You can see it. It's just manipulation from sun up to sundown. And it, actually no, 24/7. 24/7. 24/7. It's not just sun up to sundown now. It's all the time, complete inundation, magic words. Magic words on the shifting sands of definitions that never seem to settle. This is why I've actually been kind of interested in learning Greek and Latin lately. Because it seems like back then, the words were built on, there was just more, I don't know, I have more knowledge to seek in this area. I grew up in a church where it was like just a blue collar town, and we're just rambling here. But I have my interest in Latin and Greek comes from the church, which was just a blue collar bunch of guys. We had no preacher. There wasn't a dedicated preacher in the church. So essentially the men of the church and the elders just took turns. And again, going back to competition, I don't think they were competing with each other, but nobody wanted to look stupid. Nobody wanted to look stupid because no one could be passive. And so as the men of the church took turns, and it was all men, then these blue collar guys, which are actually really smart fellows, incredibly smart fellows that worked at the plant, a lot of them worked at the Alcoa plant. You had these guys that were just guys from the plant, and they would teach themselves Greek and Latin because the meaning of the words was so important. And so I'm starting to find myself kind of called back to that, because I've been just so bothered over the last decade about the shifting meaning of things. And it doesn't seem like a good foundation to build a society on. Anyway, we got really into the weeds this time, and I think I'm bored everybody because we only have 43 people in here. They use assumptive language to manipulate you, says Live Free. Yes, but I'm going to ask you to define a word. Who's they? Who is they? Who is they? Again, I want to know. And I think, I don't have the answer to that. I don't have. Does anybody have the answer? And I don't think, because we hear this all the time. They're trying to do this to us, or they're manipulating this, or whatever. I can't say that. I can't say it that way to anybody. And I'm not getting on to you. But I can't say it that way because I don't know who they is. The reptilians. I think that's a good answer. And I think, well, here's what I think about that. Who's that guy? The guy with the white hair that's always talking about reptilians. The British fellow. You know who I'm talking about, right? Media government bankers. I don't know. It could. I think when he says reptilians, David Icke. Yeah, there you go. It's David Icke. He's a weird dude, and he's always talking about the reptilians. He does it with such a straight face that I don't think he's talking about them as metaphors. But that's the way I've always taken it. That you have people that are psychopathic, and I think it's one out of every so many people is an actual psychopath that has no empathy. So that I guess you could consider somebody like that someone who is more reptilian in their thinking. So cold and calculated. No, I don't believe reptiles rule the planet. But I think there's something reptilian about. It. Cold and formless, and limbless and icy. Good morning, Eric. You have stumbled into a mess this morning. Everybody does it. I don't know what you mean by that. You could say that they is anyone you disagree with. Yeah, that's the problem, says Shane. Shane zeroed in. So Shane says you could say that they is anyone you disagree with. So a lot of people's pronouns on Twitter also is they. So, wait, what if it's them? It's the pronoun people. It's all the theys. So we need to don't do this. I was going to suggest something really stupid and people would take out of context. We'll get a list of all the theys. And when people say they are manipulating the planet, then then we have all the pronoun people. It's the they and the thems. Now we know that they're reptiles. Most women today, I'm not going to read that one because I don't necessarily agree. Most women today are psychopath in the medical meaning. I don't know what you mean by that. I'd have to look at the medical meaning, and I don't think I would think that about most women. But again, the meanings are important. Feel Cool says they. He defines it. The anonymous kind of collective that started the decay of social institutions in order to break down a civilization to the point where it could be remade in the image of their utopian ideal. I think you might be getting kind of close. There's something cold and distant and psychopathic about that kind of thought, and it's not really but the thing is, it's not really a they, because it's almost like a subconscious effect of all the things that are going on in a complicated society and a post-peak empire type of nation that we seem to be in. I thought them were ants. Mitch, this is my best live stream ever. Good stuff here. This is just the weird stuff I think about. And so now I'm getting more comfortable with you guys. And now I'm going to step in it. They Illuminati, says Eric Weathers. Ragamond says, go on college campus and speak to girls and enjoy. That would get me in trouble, Ragamond. Probably. Boomer world is dead, my good sir. I would agree with that. I think we're in a very transient position, and what were the norms is what you'd call like boomer world, which I think is a good term for it, is they're all up in the air. I mean, I think even people questioning the roundness of the earth are a symptom of that. It's like question everything because things are changing. So when things are really shifting, has anybody read this book called The Fourth Turning, by the way? This is another book I really like, and I've read it twice. It was so interesting. So good, I read it twice. Yeah, it talks about, it's a, there's a term for it, but it's like it goes back to Greek thinkers that looked at epochs and cultures and societies and generations as a repeating cycle of events. So it takes a look, I think, at 4 generations at 20 years apiece, about 20 years apiece, and then you see that these cycles or patterns repeat throughout history. And there's Greeks that noticed this and talked about it, but then Neil Howe, the authors are Neil Howe and somebody else, Strauss and Howe. Yeah, they wrote this book in like the early 90s or late 80s, and it was over these observed, and this is all pseudoscientific stuff. Like these are just observations and people that see patterns. And as someone who sees weird patterns everywhere, I'm obviously attracted to this kind of stuff. Kelsey's in the chat. Kelsey knows what I'm talking about. The Fourth Turning, Kelsey. We talked about this when he was up here. Kelsey, like I said, Kelsey's smart. He's read some cool books, and we had a lot of stuff in common. Yeah, they observed like after the 4th generation, which is like 80 years, you forget, you have this period of time where a 4th turning happens, and it usually has some kind of cataclysmic event. So like Civil War, then World War II, and now we're at the 4th turning cycle again. And so whatever we're going through now is a forgetting of the lessons of the past that we generationally have to relearn, essentially. Yeah, and it's not, people get into like blaming boomers and getting, frustrated with millennials, which I feel bad for because they're laden with such horrific college debt, a lot of them, and culture is pulling them in 1,000 different directions. But the millennials will have to figure it back out again. Really, I think Gen Z will, which is really the next, I don't know. I have to refresh myself on the book, but this is something we could talk about in more detail later on. Seems like the chat likes this kind of stuff. All right, I missed a super chat. I blame SJWs for all the world's problems. Well, you could, but they're a non-entity anymore. There is no such thing as SJW because the word has been destroyed. The word has been destroyed, but the tactics and the patterns of behaviors will move on into some other vessel. But SJWs are dead. I mean, metaphorically, not literally, obviously. Albino Thunderbuns says, "You're my second favorite weirdo." Cecil, of course, is king of weirdos and my personal favorite. Well, I can't compete. I can't compete with that, so I'm not even going to try. Kelsey says, "Have read it. Fascinating book." Mellow, hey, can you bring me some water? Thank you. Mellow E, thank you for $5. He says, "Let's just blame women for all of the world's problems." I do. Don't deny it. Mellow E, thank you for $5. You got it out. And I don't blame women for the world's problems yet. I'm not there yet. Maybe you could convince me. I don't think so, but I live with a great woman who is beautiful and lovely and helps me solve the world's problems, and I wouldn't be here without her. So it's just I can't go there. Not all problems, just most. I'm gonna just, this is you guys' reputation, not mine. They, says Feel Cool, I believe is a I'm probably gonna get myself in trouble. They, we're still trying to define they. This is about the power to name is the power to destroy. They, I believe, is a symptom of the decadent stage of civilization where people become dissatisfied with the plenty that they have and seek meaning in increasingly trivial things. I agree with this. I think we're zeroing in what they means, but then I think they is the wrong word because they implies that's a personhood somewhere or a group of people, whereas more of like a symptom of the fracturing of empire and nation, because it's like really a dissolving of what it means to be a nation, and that's really kind of what we're going through, I think. But then again, you're listening to somebody who doesn't really watch TV, so I'm sure everybody that does that really knows what's going on in the world. I'll have a La Croix. Thank you. You want to say hi?
Hi. I'm watching.
You're watching me? Okay. She's always watching. Here we go. This is satisfying. Yeah, everybody loves that. 1 second, I got a message. Okay, I'm back. No, I had to read a message from my mother. Am I back? Let me know. Back, okay. Yeah, the reptilians at AT&T killed the stream. No, I had to read a text from my mother, make sure it wasn't an emergency. You guys are venturing into some dangerous territory about when they duped women. I don't know. Again, we don't know who they is, and I think everybody can be duped. So, Matt V says they duped women into being independent and going to work. Only men did that. I would say we were all duped into thinking that crap was more important than family. And that education made you smart. Those are the two things. We were duped into thinking that crap was important and that education made you smart. Both of those things are lies. All right, just catching up here. She's always watching me, Mitch, says Eric, always watching. You know what? It's not me you should be worried about. She's watching everything all the time. And actually, she's really observant, hyper observant. And so I have a great partner. Ragaman Von Wallet says democracy is a lie and will get squashed. It's a religion that lost all substance. Yes, I agree sort of in a way. And I've been saying this for a number of years. This is kind of stuff Elizabeth and I talk about. You start to note, like once you start thinking about what things really are, like you break down things into their, like what is a religion? What is a religion? Well, it's not like, oh, well, Islam is a religion, yes. Christianity is a religion, yes. Yada, yada, yada. But a religion, what are the things that make up a religion? Like what, like it's an act of faith, an original sin, a paying of tithes, a common set of a common code of conduct, a belief in things that are outside of you that guide. Anyway, all these elements that make up a religion, yes, I think there is such a thing as a completely secular religion. And I don't know that it's called democracy. I don't think democracy is a religion, although I am not a proponent of full democracy, because that would be crazy. Crazy. Full democracy is nuts, and that people advocate for it is weird. But yeah, there is like a secular thing. There's a secular religion, in my opinion. These are all in my opinion. This is the opinion of a guy who's now sharing, all his crazy thoughts on a YouTube live stream. Man, this has gotten people talking. We dupe ourselves, says Shane. Yes, we dupe ourselves. Hyper observant, says Still No Pickles. Almost reptilian, one would say. But I'm not manipulating anybody. I'm just telling you what I think. So a reptilian would be cold and lacking of empathy. David B says intelligence is how well you can take in and process information, recognize patterns, and evaluate information. Education is information that you have been exposed to and presumably retain. And that's, yeah, I think that's pretty good analysis from David B. He follows up with education without intelligence can be worthless or worse. It could be totally worse. Totally, because how many people are we ladening with debt that don't need it, that never needed it? The costs of this are insane on society because you're taking people that would normally be very productive, both in terms of family, like producing children, and producing good work for people, and you're turning them into debt-laden slaves that really probably aren't that might not be qualified to compete in whatever field they've selected. It's mad, honestly. I can't believe we're, as a society, still doing it. It's nuts. But I think the kids are figuring it out. I think people are figuring that out. Where's the creativity in that definition of intelligence? Okay, I'll tell you where that is. I'll go back to it. Intelligence is how well you can take in and process information. Necessary for creativity. Recognizing patterns. Necessary for creativity. 120, well, it's 100%. All that stuff is necessary for creativity. Evaluating information. So to me, that's totally creative, because you have to evaluate several data points, recognize patterns, and also be spatial. I think that's kind of the element that he was missing. Thinking spatially, like you would, like an engineer thinks is spatial. We need to stop promoting college and start promoting trades. Mellow E. When I was in high school, were the last years that they had, at least in Arkansas, a trade program. The last years, and so many of those guys that weren't in the college prep had vocational studies, and they went on to do great things and probably make a great deal of money. Hopefully, all of them. But they were being trained in high school for vocation, and then that policy was ended when our governor turned president at the time. And then it became a nationwide thing, I think. I can't remember how it all played out. I was in college. Always punch reptilians. Don't punch anybody. College is luxury learning daycare. I don't know. I haven't been on a college, but I've seen some crazy videos. That definitely wasn't like college when I was there. Need to stop promoting college. Well, you can't. We can't stop. Well, we can stop as a citizenry, but we can't as a society, because what happened is what we need to do, as this is again my opinion, to solve it, we need to end federal loans. These are, in my opinion, it's totally evil and purposefully so, because smart people wrote all this. And they knew what it would, they knew. So when you have a crop, and that's what it is a crop of young people, and not all of them really should be in college, but you'd like to milk them for the next 25 or 30 years anyway, you give them a cheap loan, a free loan. You give them free money up front, and then the college knows in advance like how much of this stuff is going to be doled out, and so they start spending in advance of it. When I went to college, yeah, college is good for many scenarios, but not everyone needs to go to college. Yeah, so I'm not knocking college. We need higher education. We just need it to serve society. It's got to serve society, not take advantage of society, which it seems like that line has been crossed, in my opinion. But it has to do with federal loans. When I went to college, the campus, I'm not going to tell you which college, the campus was very much like it was in the 1970s. It hadn't changed at all. I don't think they'd built a new building in 20 years. But by the time I left, and this is when all that stuff was changing, by the time I left, and I thought what I was paid was too much. But what happened to the kids that came after was a crime. Nearly a crime. Almost. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. It's coming in. Elizabeth still hasn't noticed, but it's okay. Yeah, by the time I left, 4.5 years later, there was a totally new department, a couple of remodeled buildings, 2 new dorms in development, 2 or 3 completely new large facilities. I mean, the campus grew probably by another 25% in 5 years. And then all the kids that came after paid for it, but they knew they'd pay for it because of the basically free money that was getting tossed around by the government. And that, in my opinion, is what's wrong with college stuff. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out as a society eventually. Credentialism is a problem. Yeah, or maybe. I don't know that that's going to be a problem forever because people are just going to trust who they trust. Aldous says, learn a trade, put yourself through college, work if you desire. Further, if your degree is worth something, the trade field you choose will have an application. I guess everybody's streaming this morning. Oh, yeah, somebody must have quit a stream because now everything jumped up. Well, you missed all the great conversation that we had about conspiracy theories and they. We're trying to define they, and I think we settled on reptilians. Is that what we settled on? They or the reptilians? I'm not a reptilian, I promise. Mitch, I will disagree with you. There is no such thing as free money. Yes, there is. If an interest rate is free, the money is free. That is free money. A 0% interest rate is free money because an interest rate is nothing but the cost of money. That is free money. So, for instance, we got a new couch. And they offered us 0% interest. Now, I know, I'm not an idiot. I know this was all bundled into the price of the couch. I still have to pay it back. Yes, I have a contract. So I have a contract to pay this money back, but I'm paying 0 interest. And the couch that we bought couldn't be bought anywhere else really, and it was the best deal I could find. But I'm now don't have to spend my money up front. So now that money can sit in an interest-bearing account while I use their free money. So that was free money. And all an interest rate is the agreed upon price of money. Which, I have an observation. I had this observation a while back. So we complain about price fixing. Right, if there's like a hurricane or whatever, or people are fixing their prices. This is sort of like as a society, it's generally frowned upon. I don't necessarily frown upon it, but if you're concerned about price fixing, why are you okay with fixing the price of the interest rate, which is the price of money? Incongruous thinking. Anyway, I'm trying to always refine the way I think about things to make sure there's not incongruities. I don't know that I have opinion on it, but I just noticed that the patterns, it's the same, it means the same thing. So you can't be okay with fixing an interest rate because that's price fixing. I don't know. I haven't pursued this to its logical conclusion probably. I'm just spitballing. Price gouging. Yeah, well, I think we could all agree that price gouging on interest rates is also evil. But money has to cost something. Mitch Rodwell asks me, is the Red Rooster against they, them, or is he in agreement with they? Oh, that's interesting that you bring that up, because one of the things I do with the Red Rooster as we move on into subsequent issues is we sort of address an ancient and underlying evil that comes back. So the mantle of the Red Rooster is passed from generation to generation, and it's ancient, and it's intended to fight a recurring ancient evil. And by the time it gets to our modern society, which is, our book takes place in the mid-30s, Frank Cooper's story, that's the dawn of mass media. It's been forgotten. He's been poorly trained on the battlefield of World War I, which we'll explore around issue 6 or 7, what happens there. And then he comes back and becomes a celebrity folk hero in this rooster costume. It was never intended to be. I don't want to spoil too much, but he's taken the Red Rooster and turned it into something that's very commercial, radio plays and all that kind of stuff. But what happens when all this stuff is broadcast, it becomes a facade, something that's not real, something that's bigger than it ever was, something that's no longer secret, so no longer clandestine. It's now for the public consumption, and that erodes it. It rots something at its core, and then it can't stand anymore. And so when we come at the end of issue 3, you'll see what we're getting at by the end of the Golden Age special, which will also be the 3rd issue. And after the end of the Golden Age special, the ancient foes are aware of, well, it's really, they're creeping in the whole time, but everything becomes a ruin. Every character becomes transformed in some fundamental way, because the core of the Order of the Dawn, or whatever it was, has been eroded, and it's been fractured, falls apart, and has to attempt to reform and find its core again. And so that's what Frank Cooper's struggle will be, generally, beyond the Golden Age special. And the enemies that he will battle are these ancient foes that we all forgot about, that come up out of just out of the mire of the darkness of the ancient past. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to figure out who they is, and we're going to answer it in the Red Rooster. Greetings, Joe K. Pop culture ruins everything, says Cam. I don't know. I don't know. He doesn't. I don't know. That's putting a blame on something that, again, I'm big on definitions. That just says what is popular is ruined stuff. And I don't know that that's the case. I don't know that that's the case, because I think what can be popular can also be something that binds us together and creates common bonds. So I think I disagree with that. Joe K says Red Rooster could be a line of heroes. That is correct, and intended very much to be that way. I want to do a book called Red Rooster Legacies that kind of charts how Red Roosters of the past. All right, going back to antiquity. Yeah, I actually know where it begins. I know the moment. I know the moment that the Order of the Dawn was breathed into life. I'm not going to spoil it. Not here. It's going to be for Red Rooster Legacies, which I think will start at the Alamo and will end. I think the opening is the Alamo. Do I want to spoil too much of this? I don't want to spoil the closing image. But I'm gonna explain like how it started, how it made its way into the Middle Ages, and then from there how it made its way into the Western world, or into America. All right. Sound is cutting. Yeah, okay. Is Red Rooster a hero willing to kill? The Red Rooster is I would say that there is, I think if you're dealing with a great evil, then you have to be prepared to do so. That's a question that I will have to answer in the book, I think. I have to put the character in that situation and see how he responds. I would say that some Red Roosters are probably called to slaughter more evil than others. It's a tough, I don't want to answer it here. I just don't want to answer it. I need to put the character through the paces and figure out what's going to happen. All right, Shinto Ketchup's leaving. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in. If you respect your life, then you can kill. Yeah, no spoilers. Nobody wants spoilers. But I think these are questions we're gonna have to grapple with inside of a book. No spoiler. Everybody's no spoilers. I don't think I gave away any spoilers. Yeah, I was talking about the Red Rooster legacies, and that's what you guys didn't want spoiled. But I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be a fun journey through time. And I just have all these vignettes that I want to do. Yeah, don't spoil. That could be a great moment in the book. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about does Red Rooster kill? Yeah, I think you guys are right. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. You want to watch this character go through hell and back and see how he copes with evil. And that will all be on that journey. Got to leave some mystery, Mitch, says Edwin Boyette. Yeah, I love talking about this kind of stuff, but sometimes I get carried away. Seven Bark says it starts with the Alamo, and he goes, "I'm speechless, except holy cow." So I guess you guys like where it starts. That's just where the opening image I have of the Red Rooster Legacies book is. I'm not going to tell you any more about it. That's not where the Order of the Dawn starts, though. The Order of the Dawn starts some great deal of time before that. It's more ancient. Okay, guys, I've talked long enough. I've got a page to ink, some reference to shoot. I've got some reference to shoot, and I want to get done early tonight so I can start reading my book that Elizabeth bought me by Bill Cooper, which may inspire some fun stuff in Red Rooster and other books. And may finally answer the question of who these reptilians are, and are they real? We don't know. All right, I'm glad you guys had fun. Some of you had fun, and that's what I want this. Let me know in the description what you want this channel to talk about. That's not about comics or people or e-celebrities or anything like that. Yeah, so I'm gonna read my book. Got a lot of work to do today. Enjoyed chatting with you guys. Hit the thumbs up button. Make sure to ring the bell so when you know when I go live. Something else I wanted to talk about just real quick. Just somebody to keep in your thoughts and prayers if you're so inclined. Somebody wrote me a couple days ago, and you may know who you are if you're listening. Maybe. They said they lost their job. They were laid off from their job, and they had to refund 5 of the 7 copies of Red Rooster they ordered. And that's awful. And when I first read that, I'm like, oh, that stings. But that's a horrible, that was just my gut said that. And I'm like, well, that's no way to be. Then I looked at, since I started doing YouTube stuff again, I've had so many people are coming back in, and they're backing the book. And I'm not asking people to back the book. We've got what we need to create a great book for everyone, and we've got what we need to launch a publishing venture. So it's been incredible, and we're incredibly blessed. But yeah, my thoughts go out to that guy. I'm sure he'll bounce back very, very quickly. But then I think about how much we're taken care of, you know? So the gentleman lost his job. I might just refund the guy anyway. But I wrote him back. Then I was looking at, well, I was like, that stings a little bit. Stings way worse for him, way worse for him. Then I looked over the last few days, and literally dozens of people have backed this campaign in the last few days, which is amazing. I'm not asking people to do that by any stretch. But, you know, God takes care of people. That's the way that is. Also, I looked into my AdSense for the first time, and I had several $100s just sitting there. I had no idea. From old YouTube videos that people have watched over the last several months. So there were several $100s sitting in AdSense. So I got that all set up. So it's just, things work out, everybody. God takes care of people. So pray for that guy. I'm sure he'll bounce back. We wrote him, and we're going to refund all the books. Then he wrote back and said that it wasn't necessary, and he'll sell some other books. But anyway, I want to make sure he's got what he needs. You shouldn't. Yeah, this is, you guys gifted us with some resources that we used to create a book, to live our lives for a while, and take a risk in starting a publishing venture. And all of that's playing out, and we have what we need. But that guy may not have what he needs. So I want to make sure that he's okay with his decision. I'm glad you guys are thinking about him. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, probably. All right, take care. Have a great day. Work hard. Don't manipulate people. Be true. Ask for the meanings of words. Yeah, have a blessed day, everybody. I think everybody's feels that way today. It's going to be a great day. Bye-bye.